Hi everyone, this is a Gibson 1962 J-160E reissue. This is a special commission by Fuller's Vintage Guitars in Houston, Texas. This is the Beatles J-160E, not to be confused with the modern day J-160E that you could go to Guitar Center right now and pick up. There are some serious differences between this particular model and the contemporary modern day version. And in this video, I will go through some of those differences and explain what makes this such a unique and awesome instrument for nailing those Beatles tones. Okay, so the first unique feature about this particular J160E, being the reissue, is that it actually has the adjustable bridge. You've got these two screws right here and here that you actually raise and lower the saddle. The saddle itself is a DuPont Corian synthetic. That's not the exact material that they used in the 60s. This is the ceramic version, but it fits exactly in there. These are pretty tough to get today. You can get these on eBay every once in a while. They show up. But the adjustable bridge plays a huge role in achieving those clangy bell-like overtones that you hear on all those early Beatles records. Mainly comes from John, really laying into this, and it gives it that sort of anvil-y overtone. So the next difference is the finish itself. Gibson uses the nitrocellulose finish on these exactly like their guitars in the 60s. And it's got this really beautiful satiny finish that's just flawless. It's absolutely perfect. Let me go ahead and show you all of this. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's the back of the headstock and the neck. And here's the back of the body. Yeah, it's really, really nice. And because it's nitrocellulose, as this ages, you're really going to get to see that wood grain coming out. I mean, already you can see just the really amazing wood detail in this. And the finish itself gives off it's a really nice smell. It's a really pleasant, rich, sweet sort of smell. It's a really a nice guitar just to sort of hold. Another difference between this and a modern day J160E that makes this a reissue and sound really cool is the fact that this actually uses a plywood top. I know you're thinking plywood top, isn't that what they use in really cheap guitars? Well, at the time, Gibson started using plywood tops in some of their electrics, and this was their very first acoustic electric with the pickup here. I'll get to that in a minute. So this has a plywood top very similar to an ES5 or an ES350. Again, that's plays a pretty big role in determining the tonal characteristics of this particular guitar. I can tell you that this instrument sounds nothing like a modern day J160E, and it's all of these sort of idiosyncratic factors that make up that sound. So in keeping with the top of the guitar, there's another difference here, one that I don't know that you'll be able to see, but the reissue J160E actually uses what's known as ladder bracing. This is pretty rare to find. I don't know that there's any modern guitar that uses ladder bracing other than some sort of boutique builders. But if you notice right here, you see this brace right here. Most guitars right there would have what's known as X bracing, so the braces would actually crisscross one another. This actually has bracing that's perpendicular to the strings in the fretboard. So this ladder bracing, a lot of builders don't use it anymore because it sort of creates, the body itself doesn't resonate as much as the cross bracing. So again, that's one of the unique factors about this instrument that gives it that really cool sound, that really unique sound. It's sort of, this body sort of acts as like a really nicely tuned drum almost. When you really lay into it, it projects, and I think that's one of the factors that John really utilized pretty well. His playing was really aggressive, and the construction of this guitar really aided in that style of playing. And last but certainly not least is the pickup itself. This reissue has a P90 which is what you would have found in 60s J160E. The modern day version has a P100, which is essentially a stacked P90. It's got a little bit of a different sort of output characteristic. This, however, just nails those early tones. It's when you amplify this, here's the input jack here, but if you slap some pyramid flat strings on this, which is what this has on it, you can almost get some cool like archtop sort of jazz sounds, and you sort of hear that on the early lead work of Harrison when he would amplify his J160E. So that basically makes up what distinguishes the reissue from the modern J160E. It also explains why this is much more expensive than the modern day J160E. But let's talk a little bit about what actually is different between this and an actual 1962 J160E. There's just a few differences, and they're mainly cosmetic. The first being the rosette here in the guitar. If you take a look at Lennon's from that era, this was a double rosette, whereas this is only a single. Let's see if we can get that. I'll take some photos of that as well so you can see it nice and up close. Also, while we're here, the inside label, if we do it like this, probably can't see it, but I'll take photos again. That actually says, what does it say? It says Fuller's Vintage Guitar J160E versus a vintage, obviously wouldn't say Fuller's. Up here, the Kluson tuners. These are single ring, and the originals would have had double ring Kluson tuners. And that's about it. The difference being the price tag. This an actual J160E 62 in immaculate condition would probably run you about $5,000 or so, and this would probably cost you half of that. This is basically the same specifications as the Lennon Peace model J160E, but this obviously has the nice T-burst finish as well. It doesn't have that lame Lennon signature truss rod cover. Also, the back of the headstock, if you notice, this does not have the Gibson Custom Shop logo, which I think is awesome. I have had other Gibson Custom Shop guitars, and they've had that logo right here. The Lennon Peace model, I believe, has that. So this luckily doesn't have that. So it's, again, just a great guitar. And if you want to nail those Beatles tones, those awesome early to mid 60s tones, you're not going to find a better option than this. So thanks a lot.